When you select a motor for a 21-pound Warbird, you better be thinking power and reliability, or this plane may not last very long. I've had great results with the EME 70 twin that I put in my yak, so when it came time to get one for the P-47 Warbird, we went back to EME and got their 60 single cylinder. This is the second brand new EME motor that I've used that we haven't touched the carburetor once yet. And right here we find out that was a good thing to do. And apparently so. And I'm happy to tell you that in all the test flying we've done with this plane, with this brand new motor, it hasn't hiccuped once. But when you really look at these motors, that good a performance shouldn't be a big surprise. The EME 60 just looks very well made. You got very clean castings, high quality machining, and the materials look very good. At 3.7 pounds, the EME 60 is fairly light for this size motor, but it's putting out 6.2 horsepower at 7,200 RPM. EME includes an RC EXL ignition that really keeps this motor running smooth. I don't believe I've had a single-cylinder motor that runs this smooth. The included standoffs give you a firewall to prop washer measurement of 171 millimeters, and that's exactly what the P-47 needs. Look on the back of this motor, you find something else that makes it run very well. They use a real Walbro carburetor. Getting a carburetor that looks like a Walbro is cheap. Getting a good Walbro isn't much more expensive, but it runs way better. This skirter on the back of the motor keeps you honest when you're installing things like linkages and fuel lines. The good news is that when you install them this way, everything's out of harm's way when you finish the plane. My fuel inlet was pointed directly at the firewall, which means I don't have much fuel line outside of the firewall. That puts everything inside where I can see it easily and make sure I don't have any problems developing. As soon as we've started fitting the cowl, it became obvious that the stock cam-type muffler for the EME 60 isn't going to work in this plane. The cowl has a teardrop shape with the smallest part of it towards the bottom, and that's just too little for the can muffler. Fortunately, I had this Bison pit-style muffler, and that's got a lot smaller profile. It doesn't clear by much, but it does clear the inside of the cowl. This muffler has baffles inside to reduce the sound somewhat, and they have a strap for mounting it so it doesn't crack. I like manufacturers that have common sense and actually use it. Another nice thing about the EME 60 is that it uses the same mounting dimensions for like the prop and the muffler as the DA50. At the very least, that means I can carry fewer props around. Like anything else in this hobby, if you want a really good prop, it's not going to be in the bargain bin. Oddly enough, the price of the EME 60 is kind of in the bargain bin, but the motor certainly doesn't belong there. I've been thrashing this P-47 since we got it done because I want to fly it at Joe Null. And for something like that, I need to have a decent motor. And it turns out that the EME 60 is way more than decent than any way I tried it. As we shoot these videos, I still have the P-47 and its EME 60 underpropped a little bit. I like to underprop an engine for a little while until we get it good and broke in. But the way the EME 60 pulls this 21-pound Warbird around, it sure doesn't look like it needs much more prop. The only carburetor change that I've made on this motor is to richen the high end by about the width of a screwdriver blade. And the EME 70 twin that I used before this motor, I haven't adjusted that one at all. EME says they run these motors and set them up at the factory, and it sure looks like they do to me. As many times as this motor's been to full power and back to idle and back again, it hasn't missed a lick. I haven't had a single dead stick, and every time I moved the throttle stick to get power, I got power. I can't think of a better endorsement than this motor's given me everything I've asked for.